Hey everyone, my name is Randall Leonard, and I'm a staff therapist, and I'm so happy to be here. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and we are here having a discussion for the Black Trans Advocacy Coalition for Men's Health Week about mental health. Incredibly important conversation, one that I feel like needs to happen so much more often. So I'm here with some amazing people, some wonderful people, Chris J and Isaiah, and I'm going to let y'all introduce yourself real quickly. Who wants to go first?
My name is Chris J. I am a photographer and podcast host.
Hey, my name is Isaiah Lawrence. I use he, him pronouns. And um, some of the work that I do is with young trans folks in Maryland.
Coming at you from over here in Baltimore, and thank you so much, both Chris and Isaiah, for being here and for having this conversation, especially about mental health. Um, I'm a staff therapist and community healer, and I pretty consistently see the needs for Transmasc folk in terms of just being allowed to be who they are, and also a lot of the conditioning that we see pretty often, telling people the way that they're supposed to be and how that could affect their mental health and their mental wellness. And I'm pretty quick to always point out to the need and the access for people to be able to emote and have access to their emotions in a way that they would want to have, and not in a way that a lot of times people that I work with say that they're pressured into feeling. So um, I just, this is such an important conversation. I love it. And as we're going on through these next couple minutes, I just really want everybody to be able to take a moment for themselves and, just be happy and incredibly happy about who you are and your existence, because, you know, we're great people. So, Krishay, Isaiah, as we're talking about mental health, I'm just curious, yeah, what comes up for y'all?
Well, for some of the most important things, as I've gone down my personal journey of being on testosterone and identifying as a trans mask person, even as a non-binary person, I realized that there is a lot of um, just kind of expectations that I had to navigate around my own journey. And not everybody's journey is the same. One of the things that was difficult for me in particular was dealing with toxic masculinity and how to navigate my emotions and navigate these expectations of what masculinity meant. And for me personally, and hopefully for you who are watching, getting help and having a therapist or having someone to talk to and work through the emotions was very important for me. And it also helped me find my own path and be my own person. So that was my personal journey through seeking help for my mental health and making sure that my mental health is healthy. But yeah.
Yeah, those lived experiences, there's just, and that's the thing, the authenticity of your lived experience is just what is so important. And even when we're talking about gender, the big thing that we keep saying is the power of self-attestation instead of the way that these systems may have assigned a person. And so it's just, even from jump, so many of us who are trans, and I'm a non-binary femme, and I just remember all of these times that I was told to be something that I wasn't, and how that, made me more anxious and more depressed. And in walking my life with authenticity, I can just look at even my anxiety and depression and just have a different relationship with it. And I get that what you're saying, Chris, too, is just like so often that authenticity piece is what's, it's just what's necessary. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in here and talk a little bit about my personal experience, specifically being on testosterone and how that strongly impacted, like, I guess the amount of anger that I had. And this is something that I think has been heard of in the community, that starting HRT or starting testosterone could, potentially increase the amount of anger that you have. And I think the work that I had to do, and this is work that I did in therapy, and also outside of therapy with my brothers and my siblings, was allow myself to like be angry. I think like there's a lot of policing of emotions, especially ones that are new or heightened. It's hard to know kind of like how to engage with that. And so I think allowing myself to, like access that anger and leave room for that anger to be okay with no guilt or negative emotion associated with was a healing experience for me. Additionally, as I'm like thinking, I'm also thinking about some of the young trans masculine folks that I work with. And I think young trans people getting access to either peer support groups, individual therapy, group clinical therapy, having that a part of your life as a younger person allows as an older person for you to just be like comfortable with like seeking that help. And so I think when it comes to our young trans mass folks, I think allowing them to know at really early ages, that like it's okay, if you're like feeling a lot and you don't know what to do with that, it's okay to seek that kind of support system, whether it be spiritual, whether it be through family, or whether it be through clinical therapy.
I love that. I love that. And that's one thing I definitely have noticed, especially as a therapist, is that younger generations are okay with that message of coming to therapy, at least from what I'm seeing as a typical, they, don't necessarily have those reservations about actually seeking out therapy and coming and talking and having those conversations. I know when I was coming along, even though I am a therapist, there was a lot of seen as weak if you were in therapy. And I do hear people, depending on the generations, are saying things like, you know what, it was just, I don't want to be perceived as weak. And that whole concept of that, versus just like that full body engagement of coming and sharing some of your experiences with somebody that is there to listen and to assist you, and hopefully also has some of those lived experiences too, because it's really important. That's one of the things I really encourage a lot of trans folks to become community healers themselves, to become therapists, to become, so that way it is, our own people that understand our journey. And what you're saying too about the emotions is, I mean, I've experienced so often where people don't really even know what emotions are. And they're there really to both protect us, and they're really there to be able to allow us to see different perspectives. And they really kind of regulate our energy too. And anger in and of itself, just it's there to assist people with being able to handle threats that are happening to them. And so is fear, and so are all of the other emotions too. Sometimes we have to get away from something, sometimes we have to engage it. And I think if there's so many times, especially with trans men, that that aspect of anger, it's just incredibly important. And also there's people that can use anger in some pretty beautiful ways. It doesn't always have to be rage. Yeah. Yeah. An important conversation. This is just, mental health is, I'm glad that BTAC actually was just like, you know what, we want to highlight this because it is super needed for all of our communities. And it's a big part of, that full life experience. So any other things before, and I love the fact that, we had some lived experiences here. And I want to thank you both for, sharing about this topic too. And is there any other things before we close out that you really want the viewers to know?
For me, I would hope that people continue to seek out community, seek out, you know, some good peer support. Like Isaiah said, it's so helpful to be around people who allow you to be yourself. There is no right or wrong way to be you. So, you know, you can throw some of those expectations out the door and do the things that make you feel like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think as I guess a closing thought, I mean, like seeking joy can be complicated, you know, but gaining access to joy can transform your life. And that's something that like I think a lot of people struggle with, and especially folks like us who are marginalized in so many other ways. And so, like that access to that joy, like Christian is saying, might even be just simply within community. Simply being around someone that looks like you can really heal and do wonders for one's mental health. Yeah.
Thank you both. That authenticity and that euphoria, that joy, that just being who you are and also not being pressured into being something that you're not. And that's something that I see pretty often too. Like, you know, that concept of like you need certain procedures in order to be you know, a trans person. And it's like if those procedures don't really align with who you are, then you don't necessarily need to go with what somebody else is saying that you are. I mean, the euphoria is coming from that sense of self and who you are. And of course, if there is, you know, anybody that's watching this and just really considering, you know what, maybe I do want to take that step and go out here and talk with a therapist, it's incredibly important. And I'm hopeful that there is access to somebody from your own community to be able to have those conversations with. And just thank you for even watching this video and for being here for a couple minutes, because we are definitely out here. Black trans folks are beautiful. Black joy is beautiful. And thank you so much for watching. Take it easy, y'all.